gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. Right. So first of these two games is very accurate and played to a true draw here by agreement. Black got the better end of the draw board wise, white got the better end of the draw time wise. So that's how that was. And here I played black and won a game that was not very accurate. It was interesting nonetheless. Missed a mate in 4 there. While here snagging the queen should be plenty. And there's a mate in 4 renewing itself nonetheless. Okay, so we see the game's more accurate when played out all the way to checkmate, as usual. And as it were on the board, almost about 80 versus 60, so this was not a very accurate game. But let's go ahead and maybe we can make some sense of it anyway. Maybe focus on the parts that were accurate. Here's the exchange variation of the Ruy Lopez. We're still in book with bishop g4 and h3 and even h5. A book continuation that is not, you would think maybe instead of h5 that white would want to snag the bishop on g4. So bishop takes g4, pawn takes g4, and now the knight would want to move away from the attack of the pawn on g4 by way of knight to h2 perhaps, but then black can find a very strong attack that sometimes can lead to checkmate. With queen to h4, there's a threat of mate on h2, and this is just very disastrous for white. Black's up a pawn. He has the active pieces. For my own edification, I might review how black should best continue. I think queen to h1 check, and then queen takes h2 has got to be good. And then with a 2-point material lead already, how about queen to f3 check? And probably even avoid swapping queens with rook to h2. Yeah, the computer says that that's not that great move. Maybe the first thought was queen takes f2. Okay, so maybe queen takes f2 is plenty good. Yeah, rook down. White should initiate a trade. Rook takes h2 is not accurate, so what about pawn to g3? Also inaccurate. So then simply trades on e2 has got to be good. Oh, no, what does this do? Bishop c5 was best. Bishop to c5. Alright, developing a piece while protecting the piece that has some tension under it. Maybe now we can play rook to h2 better. There we go. Get this check in, and then with rook to e2, we're going to trade even more. Maybe not right away. We tried g3 first. And then bishop takes f2. This strong relationship between the pawn and the bishop on the g3 square and the f2 square will occupy some of white's tempos of initiative and clock. This is not a relationship that's gonna, there's no wham bam and then I have a queen and 3 rooks or anything, but this is a relationship that we might have to think about how to undo this relationship. Bishop e3 looks good, but then there's another material trade, and after the king captures on e3, is he fast enough? Yes, just barely to catch the pawn that has moved to g3, so maybe the pawn doesn't move to g3, and can black muster some horsepower on the king's side to protect this pawn, and even if he can't, black will be ahead 2 pawns worth of material. So let's actually see, is black to move here? Remember now, black is not afraid to forego castling in a position like this. Okay, so there's a reasonable amount of tension and counterplay. I have a 2.9 point advantage against the computer on its hardest level. I cannot complete this. I will not win this, but against another human, I'm pretty sure I will most of the time. we're gonna lose this pawn on f2, but also trade knights in the process, and then I'm in a king and pawn endgame where I'm up two. I'll be up two pawns, and even if these pawns are doubled, they're not a weakness. They're not that bad of a weakness. Right, they can take up sort of a zigzag formation on the C and B file, and the A pawn moving to A5 can make that more of a checkered pattern, and then they're very strong so long as the base is somewhat secure. All right. So here's black. Yeah. We just reviewed this game. This is so the game ended. My opponent resigned here. Down so much material. Why did that not occur in this? I must have played some move differently earlier on. That wasn't what happened in this game. Well, anyway, this is the game played out to checkmate. This is the draw I had. I think. Yeah. I was just looking at something involving these pawns, and the game was quite closer, but I don't recall what I did. $83 to $69. Okay. Some amount of accuracy. Okay. Fantastic, accurate game. A lot of excitement, even at the end, avoiding stalemates and all that. Let's take a look here. I think I'm going to be probably not going into this game in full detail, but an early, interesting, white gets an early interesting lead in material. Yes, I don't know, the lead in material is also interesting as how it was obtained. This cluster of pieces interacting here, uh, usually when you have a cluster of pieces like this, the calculations are very difficult. There's many opportunities. What if here? What if here? Right? We all know that four full moves into chess, there are over 4 billion combinations possible. Legal positions on the chessboard possible. Only four moves. Okay, so like this is one of the positions that highlights that it's not incredibly so, but on its way there. So you want to look for some stability. How can I reduce your first lines? You want to look for forces, and behind forces stability. So I'm looking for lines that almost force black's hands. Like bishop takes c6, either pawn takes c6 or bishop takes c6 is next, or else it's going to be bishop takes d7 check, and white will be up two pieces for just a moment before one of those pieces is regained by black, and white will be up a full piece at the end of that. So I initiate this combination with bishop takes c6. Bishop takes c6 in return is good, except that now black's pieces are either pointing at something not. Well, first of all, it's white's turn, and black's pieces are pointing at something like his own color pieces, or a piece that's defended at least once, and in this case by an inferior piece, the pawn at e4. So that's what black has. We've nullified many of black's opportunities to make pro-black exchange of pieces on this chessboard. D takes e5 also that's the killer threat white has up his sleeve, attacking both f6 and d6 while gaining a pawn in between. And it looks like, however black treats this situation, white's going to get at least a piece to a pawn. There's maybe some bishop b4 check ideas to consider. Those probably aren't going to work for black. I'm going to block the check. I'm not sure. I didn't look at that, but I did look at, bishop takes c6 as a way to simplify much of the milieu here in mostly black's side of the center. Right, but like I said, with bishop b4, it's out because it's white's turn to move. D takes e5 is best, and bishop takes e5 is called for. And I think here maybe my opponent missed bishop takes b4. Let's check with torch 4 on this. Maybe we can cut back with our knight to capture on b4 and still be very strong out of all this. Bishop takes d5, knight takes d5. Yeah, so bishop b4 check. I said takes. I meant bishop b4 check. Looks like it doesn't quite work out for black. I'll show it here on the practice first computer. It's a good idea to escape the fork by giving a check. I'll force black's hand here. Bishop b4 check, knight takes b4, and I think just white is still going to win this combination by way of having earned a lot of the material towards the beginning of that combination. Even king e3. Okay, so and now torch is beating me, not my opponent. So here we go. Bishop takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes d5, e takes d5 is another way to settle this. And if I'm correct, after the fork, my opponent played bishop takes d5. That's second to the best move, and still a mistake. Pounce on the extra piece, and white is going to just kind of grind this one down. Here I spot a attack. Not there. I think I spotted the tactic. Black moved to queen to c6. And I said I have this tactic that can help me simplify. Or if the knight moves, much better. So knight didn't move, but we can still play. Queen takes d5. Queen takes d5, and with either queen takes d5 or rook takes d5, the next move for white is knight to e7 check. King moves, pick up the queen, knight's gone, and white has simplified wall up a full bishop. Then grab this pawn on a7 and just be mostly in a blitz game online like this with with some time left. I'm looking for stability of piece placement and reduction of material on the board. Make things simple for ourselves. We get to look behind the pawn at a2. We're not going crazy about back rank checkmates because they aren't there yet. Black is not threatening that yet. We maybe get the bishop to somewhere safe. Okay, so the rook makes a strong move to block on a5. That's a good move. That's a move I would make. I move to a4 to limit the rook's scope. And then maybe now we're worried about back rank checkmates. As most of the other things in the game have settled, we start thinking long term. Push the rook off the dark colored square, advance to a5. This is, I don't know if I should say it. Biggie would say about this, the a pawn and the bishop here are tight like a frog's ass, saying, Biggie, Biggie, give me one more chance. So the bishop and the pawn are saying, we be tight like a frog's ass. A frog's ass. Woo! Yeah, so now that things are settled, there's no back rank checkmate. I can handle this issue on the queen side of promotion and my opponent's rook being there. Pretty much handle that with piece and pawn play rather than committing my king to that quite yet. Because here with black to move, king to f6 allows a forced trade of material. The rooks are gonna trade. Right, this rook is now completely trapped. I'm not worried about losing the rook because I get my opponent's rook and now I'm still up the bishop. Once the bishop gets out of the way, this has to distract the black king, or it'll be 1, 2, 3 moves to promotion on a8. Well, that's distracting the black king all the way over on the queen side. My king now wakes up and says, let's get to it. He's going to collect some pawns and make a pathway for his own pawns to promote, possibly on f8 or a8 or g8. So I think right around here my opponent plays it out to the bitter end. I've got this queen here, and then it maybe could have chosen some better limiting moves here. I kind of let the king slip loose. Bishop to g5 under time pressure makes a lot of sense. Bishop to g5 would be good, and then the pawn to a5 would bring the queen over to d5 and cut off my opponent's king from the action. 1, 2, and promote 1, 2. 1, 2, and 3 with a promotion, and then a forced checkmate. One of the fundamental checkmates. The most fundamental checkmate. The queen and the 2 queens versus kings. It's the most fundamental checkmate. My opponent's just hiding around in this case, my pieces, trying to find like cover. Now here I might have done well to just cut my opponent off at the third rank. I don't know what I did instead. I gave a check because I was worried about time and had my thoughts completely collected. But it's checkmate. My opponent's here on e5. It's a mid-board checkmate. And a great game, too. Look, my opponent didn't play poorly. With 83% accuracy, no blunders, no misses. A couple mistakes in there, but even like this first mistake, e5, is actually kind of an interesting mistake. My opponent's down upon and probably has more pressing matters to attend to on d5, but not an uninteresting move. And with the tactics how they were, and I don't know. I like this game. I feel both my opponent and I played strongly. There was a move awarded to be a brilliant move here with a momentary queen sacrifice with the tactic, and I sacrificed my queen for a moment there, and then I'm up a pawn and a bishop in the endgame. So good stuff. Alright, thank you all for watching. I'm gonna make this move so you can see all the moves next time. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.